Where am I, you ask? I'm squished between the pages of this book, squashed flat as a pancake. You can hear my voice in your head, but you won't be seeing my handsome face today. Tragic, I know. I called out for a reason, I have a story for you. Well, technically it is a nursery rhyme, you know about those, right? You know, twinkle, twinkle, a little star.
Baa, baa, black sheep. Mary had a little lamb. Those soft little songs parents hum when they want everything to feel safe. This isn't one of those.
Me? I always liked this one.
Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. All the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty together again. Sigh for short lines. That's all most people ever hear. They think it's about a clumsy egg, a simple faulty end. They're wrong, not just a little wrong, totally wrong. That isn't the whole story, not even close. This story isn't about twinkly stars or little lambs. It's about what happens when people decide who is right and who isn't. It's about crowds and whispers and the danger of repeating things without thinking. And it's about one small egg who changed everything. So read carefully, because if your mother knew the rest of this story, she might have closed the book before you ever opened it.
If you want to chicken out on a book about an egg, I get it.
Stop reading now!
But if you stay, then turn the page. But don't say I didn't warn you.
Chapter 1. The Egg. The Legend. Call me Chirpty.
You know, the guy that just warned you. I know you were hoping it would be the egg. Humpty is the egg, but you already know that.
Me? I'm the bird?
What? You don't know about the bird?
Figures. All you need to know about me is that I am about the size of a baseball, feathers and all, and I was there at the very beginning. The day Humpty was born.
No, the day we were born.
I remembered.
At first there was nothing but dark, then I opened my eyes. That always helps. I was lying in a nest made of moss, grass and twigs, warm, cozy and mine, or so I thought, but something just wasn't right. I blinked and looked around, something moved behind me. A sharp tingle ran from my tiny tail straight up to my beak. I froze. Slowly I turned, expecting something dangerous. Instead an egg, not on a plate, not in a carton, a real round living egg sitting right there in the nest with me. I stepped closer as a chick. I knew eggs, and something about this one felt very different. I gave him the gentlest little shove. The egg rolled and made the tiniest squeak.
Then his eyes opened, he blinked at me, smiled, and like he knew I needed it, wobbled forward and pressed his shell gently against my feathers, warm, soft, a friend. We stood there for a second. To this day, we still argue about which of us came first, the chicken or the egg. But that's a story for another day. We stood together, egg hand clutching, bird wing, and crept to the edge of the nest. Below us stretched the land of breakfast. Great lake of maple syrup shimmered amber in the sun. Pancake hills rolled beyond it. Bacon bridges curled across shining syrup rivers. The air smelled like cinnamon and sugar. The world felt alive. This was our home, safe, cozy, and perfect. But then, the breeze changed.
At first it was just a breeze, then the wind grew stronger, swirling hot air through my feathers. Not like a breeze, more like a breath. The tree swayed, the nest rocked, the wind pushed harder, and just like that I was lifted right off my feet. The wind swept me into the air, then for one terrible second I started to fall. Then something grabbed my wing, I jerked to a stop. Pain shot through my feathers, it was the egg. One hand locked onto me, the other wrapped around a thin shaking branch. His eyes weren't scared, just focused. The wind howled, it pulled at us harder. The branch bent lower, than his grip slipped. We were toasting, not the delicious buttery kind. But then one trembling finger caught, held, and slowly, inch by inch, he pulled us back until we tumbled into the nest. The nest creaked, the tree groaned somewhere below us. The wind howled again, a hot swirl pushing against Humpty's shell. Stevie impatient, like it had almost gotten what it wanted. We stayed very still, I didn't know much about wind, but I was pretty sure it wasn't supposed to feel angry. One thing I knew for sure, that egg saved my life. We lay there staring at the empty air, hearts pounding, waiting to see what would happen next. And then it stopped, like it knew it wasn't time yet. After a while he stood up, then he pointed directly at me. Not past me, not around me, at me. What on earth is he doing? I thought he didn't blink, didn't move, just stared. I shifted my feet, he was still staring. This was getting weird, so I made a sound. Didn't mean to, it just slipped out. Chirp!
The egg tilted slightly, still staring. What was he looking at? I placed my wings on my hip and glared back. Derp. The egg blinked and snickered.
He lifted one tiny hand and tapped the top of his shell. Hup, he said, then he pointed down toward the long drop below the nest and wiped his brow. Dump! We stood there just looking at each other. Hump, dump, dump, derp, derp. Just sounds, at least that's all they were for now. We stood at the edge of a broken nest and looked out at the world again. After nearly falling out of our very first home, we both wanted the same thing.
Safety. Let's just say the short track record of our home wasn't the greatest. We looked around for a place where we wouldn't fall to our doom. And as if someone heard our wish, we looked out and found exactly that.
Far beyond the syrup lake and pancake hills, shining bright in the distance, stood a kingdom of smooth white towers and gold. Every building was round, every roof curved, every tower looked like a perfect shell. It looked like a place built for eggs and little baby chicks, for that matters. Its name gleamed across the land like a promise. Excelsior, on our very first day alive. Staring at it from the edge of our trembling nest, we believed the same thing. We had found the safest place in the world. We were wrong.
No eggs allowed. The journey to Eggcelsior took 3 days.
3 days of hopping over bacon bridges, sizzled underfoot. 3 days of sliding down pancake hills that smelled like Saturday morning. 3 days of the egg hopping beside me while I flapped my tiny wings, both of us chasing that shining white kingdom ahead. When we reached the gates, they were even grander up close. They curved like 2 giant eggshells meeting at the top. Guards stood on either side, tall, serious people in smooth white armor. Their helmets were oval, their shields were oval, even their mustaches curled into neat little ovals as if straight lines were forbidden. Something about the place felt too perfect. One guard stepped forward and looked down at us. Way down. A walking egg and a bird were not what he'd expected to see that morning. The guard squinted at us. Ugh, Mondays, he muttered. As we walked closer to the giant wooden doors, the guard shouted, "Stop!" We froze. The guard looked us up and down slowly. The guard lifted up his sword and shield, then pointed to a wooden sign. "No eggs allowed. I cannot let you in by order of the King of Eggcelsior," he said. "Food eggs go in baskets. Walking ones are not allowed to exist." Then he turned and walked away, closing the giant wooden door behind him. And that was it. Humpty and I looked at each other with a confused look on our faces. How could a kingdom called Excelsior ban a walking egg? We legit just walked for days to get here, and now we aren't allowed. Well, I had just about lost my patience. I flapped my wings and launched myself beak first toward the gate. Bad timing, the massive wooden door slammed shut. My beak slammed straight into the wood like a dart. Turns out I was stronger than I looked, I was stuck. This is so embarrassing, I thought. And before you ask, because I know you're about to, yes, I can talk now. And no, I couldn't back then. Have you ever had a bird walk up to you and start talking? No, didn't think so. Because they are not chirpty-derpty. Back then, chirps and derps were all I had. Took me a while to get anything more out. So if I say chirp or derp in the story, just know there's more behind it. You'll figure it out or you won't. I don't really have time to explain. Anyway, then as if it couldn't get worse, a small voice spoke up behind us. Excuse me? We froze, my nose jammed into a wooden door. Eyes darting, pretending like this was just another casual day. A little boy stood behind us holding a basket of eggs. He looked at the sign, then at the egg, then back at the sign. "No eggs allowed," he said. "You know, long ago, they said the exact opposite." He frowned. If my beak wasn't slammed into the door, I would have told him how much I agreed. Eggward glanced at the guards, they were too busy talking about a huge event coming up in Eggcelsior, the Great Egg Games. Eggward leant down, quick, he whispered, "Jump in my pocket." The egg hopped in as the boy gently pulled my beak free. The pocket was warm and soft, just right for one tiny egg and one tiny bird. "Now stay very
quiet, we have to get past the guards.
Egward gave a giant knock, the door swung open again, and that same guard said, well, good morning, Egward, welcome home. And with that, we slipped into our new home unnoticed. The darkness of his pocket was comforting, but we also had no clue where we were going. After a few minutes, the boy opened his pocket and stared at us in wonder. Now, let me get a look, I've never seen anything like you two, he said. My name's Egward. The egg nodded his tiny head, then tapped his shell. Humped up, then he pointed at me. Egward studied us for a moment, really studied us, then he nodded.
Are those your names? He asked. He rubbed his chin for a moment and stared up thinking,
if you're going to live here in Eggcelsior, you will need proper names.
Then he pointed to me.
I will call you Chirpty Dirty.
Then to the egg.
And you, he said, pointing at my little friend, I will call you Humpty Dumpty.
He smiled, nice to meet both of you. We finally had our very own names. And with that, we entered our new home of Eggcelsior, which, as it turns out, was a terrible idea. But we didn't know that yet.
Chapter 3. Life in Eggcelsior. We were in Eggcelsior, though from the moment we arrived it was clear the place had already decided we didn't belong. Egward hid us beneath his bed in a small wooden crate that was meant for eggs you eat, but certainly not for living ones. It was dark most of the time. Humpty spent hours staring through the cracks in the wood at the thin strips of light on the floor, like he could somehow climb into them and slip out with the dust. If the sign means anything,
Egward whispered one.
wide as he checked on us,
It means eggs like you.
are not welcome here. Humpty didn't answer. Days turned into weeks. Humpty grew bigger. The
Crate did it.
I didn't complain too much, more room for me, but I would have liked to have gotten bigger too. Humpty was not built for hiding, so when Egward rushed out one morning, barely pausing long enough to explain himself, I knew Humpty was whipping up some sort of plan. It's the biggest day of the year, he said. Today is the Great Egg Games, so I won't be back when I normally am.
Chirp, chirp.
I asked, wondering what these Great Egg Games were, but Egward was already out the door.
Dear.
No one ever listened to me. The door shut, and Humpty stood immediately, grabbed my wing, and pointed toward the room without saying a word.
Chirp.
I asked. He nodded.
Derp, derp.
I agreed, which in this case meant terrible idea. Let's do it anyway. That was that. We slipped out into the streets for a place that banned eggs. It sure loved them. Egg hats sat on heads, egg jackets hung from racks. A vendor spun a wheel of painted shells that clicked softly as it turned. Each one catching the light just right. Everything was eggs, except of course the people. We moved carefully, weaving between legs and stalls, trying not to be seen from across the plaza. We spotted Egward. I jumped on Humpty's shoulder and we hid in an egg coat like an awkward mannequin, although I thought we looked pretty good.
Egward was hopping down the street. Behind him was Egward's bully of a big brother, Hardy Boulderson. Hardy hovered nearby with that loose, easy grin bullies wear.
He came up behind Egward without a sound, leaned in and shoved a wet finger straight into his ear. Egward flinched, then turned and looked him directly in the eye. For all his size and noise, Hardy was not brave. So when Egward didn't shrink, Hardy looked past him and found something easier. A smaller boy stood nearby, holding a wooden egg on a string. Hardy flicked it from his hands without even looking, sending it skidding across the stone where it split clean into the boy froze, staring at the pieces. Hardy didn't acknowledge him. He had already moved on.
That was the thing about
Hardy, he wasn't brave.
brave people don't.
Pick the smallest targets in the square. Laugh harder when other people are watching. Hardy liked crowds because crowds let him pretend his meanness was strange. tried to creep away. We almost made it. Then Hardy stopped, turned slowly, and spotted us. His face lit up, not with confidence, but with the sort of ugly delight a coward gets when he finds something even more vulnerable than himself.
Is that a walking, talking egg?
He shouted,
The plaza fell silent.
"Look, everyone!
Trespasser!
People gasped, parents yanked children behind them. A shop door slammed. Hardy stepped forward, puffing himself up larger than he was.
No eggs allowed!
He shouted then louder,
No eggs allowed!
and that was when the town did what towns like this do best. It echoed.
No eggs allowed!
No eggs allowed!
The word spread fast, passed from mouth to mouth, the air growing strangely warm as they moved, until they no longer sound like indecision at all. Adults pointed and faces hardened. The whole square began to sound like one giant mouth. The last thing Humpty saw was Edward standing there in the middle of it all, his eyes filling with tears.
Humpty stood there. I stood behind him for a few seconds. Seeing the brave egg that saved my life lose a little bit of his courage. A few more seconds of laughter and ridicule, then his bravery finally broke. Before I could attack Hardy, Humpty turned around, he ran. The streets blurred, the chants followed. They bounced off the walls, tangled together and stretched into something uglier and louder than words. Humpty ran through the city like a mouse through a maze, turning corners without choosing them, dodging carts, slipping between people, hearing that chorus of no eggs allowed everywhere at once. He didn't stop.
Trust me, I wanted him to. My wings were getting tired.
He barely seemed to notice where he was going until the streets opened into a giant circular stadium of white stone and gold trim with curved walls rising high above the crowd. And banners flapping all around it like proud little warnings. Humpty rushed straight into the Shelladium, still rattled from Hardy's taunts. A sudden warm gust too hot for the morning, and carrying the faintest trace of something rotten brushed against his back and lingered there almost like it was watching him. His foot clipped the leg of a tall rack stacked with long-handled spoons. The rack went over with a crash, spoons scattering across the stone as he pitched forward, arms flailing. He hit the first row and rolled, then another, then directly into the centerpiece of the opening feast. A towering cake stacked in neat, frosted layers and built high enough to impress people who had clearly never seen how quickly frosting can fail. He hit it head first, the top tier collapsed, frosting burst outward. The whole cake slid apart around him in one grand, sugary disaster. For one brief moment, the entire Shelladium went silent. Humpty lifted his head and wiped frosting from his eyes as I started licking frosting from his head. Delicious! When he opened them, he was standing right in front of the king and queen hash brown of Eggcelsior. The king stared, then he laughed, and just like that, the whole Shelladium burst into laughter too, echoing him exactly the way the town had echoed Hardy. They pointed because he pointed, they laughed because he laughed in Excelsior. People did not seem to need their own reactions if the king had already provided one. At the edge of the crowd, Edward had just arrived. I saw him there, frozen where he stood, watching the whole thing happen with his mouth slightly open. He didn't laugh, not once. The noise swirled around Humpty, the laughter was everywhere. The world seemed to tilt, then the queen hash brown stepped forward. She knelt beside him, rested one hand gently on his shell, and held out the other as though none of the laughter behind her mattered at all. It's all right, she said. Falling doesn't mean failing. And with that, she helped Humpty up and led him out of the Shelladium while the laughter slowly faded behind us. Yeah,
the royal stables, Humpty the queen hash brown, and I stepped out of the chalet diem onto the streets of Excelsior. I flew behind, a bit sluggish after my frosty feast. To our left, Egg caught up to us. He had clearly run the whole way. His hair was crooked, one shoe looked half untied, and he stopped several feet away, as if he wasn't sure whether he had the right to come any closer. The Queen Hash Brown turned to him. Egg blinked and bowed.
Queen Hash Brown!
Your Majesty, my name is Egg Boulderson, and these are my two friends, Humpty Dumpty and Chirpty Derpty. I bowed to the Queen Hash Brown too, but she didn't notice. Derp. Egg swallowed. I've been hiding them, he admitted, glancing at Humpty and then down at the ground. Since the gate I knew I wasn't supposed to, he trailed off, then forced himself to finish. I couldn't leave him out there. Queen Hash Brown looked at him as we made our way to the royal stables. That was a brave thing, she said, and a good thing. A boy who risked trouble to protect someone weaker than himself has more character than most grown-ups in the city. Her eyes drifted toward the training yard beyond the stable wall, where the king's men could sometimes be heard drilling Eggcelsior as use for that sort of character. Her gaze lingered there just a moment longer, as if she already knew where that sort of character might end up. Eggward straightened a little, though he tried not to show it. Then her tone softened. "Thank you for all you have done, young Eggward. Your friends will be safe with me." He hesitated, looking at Humpty once more, then nodded and left. The stables were warm and heavy with the smell of hay, leather and grain. Horses shifted in their stalls at the far end. Tucked away from everything else was a simple nest inside. "This will be your home," the Queen Hash Brown said, "for now." Days passed, then more. Humpty stayed in the stables. There was a small hole in the wood, and I would often find Humpty with his eye pressed to it outside. The king's men trained, boots striking the ground in rhythm, armor moving as one. They were strong, certain together. Humpty watched them every day, longer than he needed to. He never said anything, but I knew he wanted to be one of them. Though something told me that world would not welcome him either. Queen Hash Brown visited often. She brought egg bread brushed with yolk butter, soft curd cheese, and sweet shell sugar. Sometimes she came and told stories, not the kind meant to entertain, the kind meant to teach or warn. One evening as the light dimmed and the stable settled into quiet, Humpty finally asked, in the only way Humpty could. He walked toward her, his gaze drifted for a moment, then settled on the memory still hanging over him from the gate. He raised one hand and drew a perfect egg in the dirt of the stable, then pointed at it with the puzzled look. The Queen Hash Brown understood at once.
"Are you talking about the no eggs allowed sign?" She said. Humpty nodded. I perked my head up from the cozy nest where I was napping. Chirp, she studied us for a moment. Yes, she said quietly, "You wanna know how a place called Excelsior came to hang a sign like that?" Humpty nodded. I did too, but again the Queen Hash Brown wasn't paying attention to me. "Derp," I muttered, kicking dirt from under my feet. "No one ever remembers the bird." The Queen Hash Brown didn't answer right away.
Instead, she knelt beside Humpty and pressed her hand into the dirt. With one slow motion, she drew a crack into the egg circle that Humpty had drawn into the ground, then another. Once, she said quietly, "Excelsior didn't have signs."
"But that doesn't mean it was safe," she said, drawing one final crack across the egg. It had something much more dangerous. Yeah, hi, yeah, yo, 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 hi, yeah, yo, 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 yeah, yeah, yo, 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 yo.
Chapter 5. The Hollow One. Humpty and I leaned forward, hearts beating faster. A cold ripple moved through the stable as Queen Hash Brown began the story we would never forget. A long, long time ago, she said, her voice quieter now. Excelsior was a land of eggs. Every home, every voice, every ruler, they were all eggs. Then one day, an egg and a bird came knocking on the door of Excelsior. Just like you two. His name was Numpty Grumpty, his bird was Slurpty Burpty. I chuckled, what a silly name. She turned toward Humpty. He looked just like the rest of the eggs, but something about him was different. He was clever, and he had special powers. He used his words to control the other eggs, making others believe things simply by repeating them. Slowly, the kingdom began to echo every word he said. He loved that power, and that is where things turned bad. She began walking slowly along the wall. As she spoke, Humpty followed closely. I hopped after them, feathers prickling. He knew more than anyone else that he was special and wanted to prove it to the world. He searched for ancient text in the oldest parts of Eggcelsior and found a prophecy. It said that one day an egg would fall and crack, coming back as a stronger, more powerful version of his original self.
She paused, the lantern above us flickered, and worse, the prophecy stated she contingent the egg would rule not only Eggcelsior, but all the lands of food, breakfast, lunch, dinner, dessert, snacks, everything.
I said this time with a worried voice. Numpty wanted power and control over everything and thought the prophecy must have been written about him.
She looked directly at Humpty. Humpty didn't move, not even a little, and he decided he would not wait for the prophecy to choose him.
So one day he climbed the outer wall higher than anyone dared, and then stepped off and the air rushed past him. When the king's men found him, he was broken into 25 pieces, his egg white and yolk splattered across the wall. They put him back together as best they could, but his yolk had broken. He was fixed, but without his yolk he was hollow and fragile. Humpty looked up sharply. The queen nodded. He survived, but was no longer whole. He was hollow and cracked. I got the smooth egg beside me, wondering. The queen went on. Even though prophecy did not unfold as intended, the fall made him more powerful than before. With his new powers, he could fill the air with his words, warm and foul like breath that lingered too long. When he spoke, his voice did not fade. It spread, pressing into every ear until it became impossible not to repeat. He gained influence but not respect, and that made him far more dangerous. The queen watched Humpty closely. As much as he tried, they wouldn't follow him. The eggs would never make him king without his yolk. No one respected him. Humpty rubbed his belly where his yolk rested inside his shell. I did the same, hoping someone would notice and give me another egg tart. Instead, they called him the Hollow One, and the Hollow One would not allow anyone to get in the way of him ruling not just Eggcelsior, but the entire world.
He came up with an evil plan. The queen hash brown went on more firmly. Now he began with whispers, small rules, small fears. He made eggs seem dangerous. He found the worst among them and made it seem like all of them. He turned eggs against eggs, and slowly, whether by his magic or something unexplained, they changed, shells cracked, and what stepped out was no longer egg. Eggs became people, and the people followed Numpty's message. No eggs allowed. He faced Humpty fully, but Numpty's plan was also his downfall. When the last egg became a person, his plan was complete. No eggs allowed, they chanted. Now it was time for him to take over as king of Eggcelsior. But the people kept chanting, no eggs allowed. And as they chanted Numpty's message, all eyes fell on him, the last egg. For a moment, no one moved. The townspeople lifted him over their heads and threw him over the walls of Eggcelsior. Numpty fell, shattered into pieces, and was gone. It was done. Humpty lowered himself into the nest and stared up at the beams overhead, not blinking, not fidgeting, and not doing much of anything at all. The queen hash brown stood in the doorway for a moment before leaving. From somewhere outside the stable came the sound of children chanting in the distance, with hot, rotten air and deep eyes of red. The Hollow One fills your head. I jumped onto Queen Hash Brown
shoulder. Shivering, I didn't know why, but it didn't feel like a story anymore. She ignored me again. The queen hash brown listened without interrupting, though something in her expression tightened. Children tell stories, she said at last. They always have for over 250 years. No one has truly seen him, but children claim they do. They say he appears where the air turns warm and foul. And foul. They say he watches from dark corners. They say his eyes shine red, although the hollow one has not been seen in a very long time. She said quietly what he began never truly left. Echoes do not need a voice of their own. She looked at Humpty, only someone willing to repeat them. Queen Hash Brown stood in the doorway for a moment. I didn't chirp, I didn't derp. For once I had nothing to add. Then she turned and left. The stable felt different after she was gone. Humpty stared upward for a very long time. Chirp, I said softly. He didn't look at me, but I knew he heard it. Humpty pointed out toward the streets of Eggcelsior and shook his finger and his head. He was telling me he would never step foot in the streets of Eggcelsior again. After that, Humpty stopped walking the streets of Eggcelsior. Until it became something longer. And though he said he was done, I knew better, because something in Eggcelsior was not done with him.